Successful band, planes that land, and I promise you will understand. It's Rhyme and Reason 630.
There's a rhyme and reason for your life. There's a rhyme and reason why.
Hey there, Tony here, and we're getting even closer to the end of January, so I hope it's going well for you. Pretty darn cold here in the shadow of Pikes Peak, but sun came out today. It's awesome. It's really nice. I can see snow melting. We had snow in the last couple of days. There's the weather report, and sports coming right up after these words from Rhyme and Reason. Okay, I'll get back to the message here. I was talking about how an old friend of mine from back in my days as a full-time musician in Texas, that friend loved REO Speedwagon. And I think she even got to meet him one time. I wasn't a fan, but she would talk about them, and I'm pretty sure she got to meet at least a couple of them. But regardless of me not liking them, I can't deny they were a pretty successful band. They had hits like Can't Fight This Feeling. If you watch any classic video station or YouTube channel or whatever, and anything with 70s and 80s, you'll find them in there at some point. They had another one called Keep On Loving You, and another hit called Take It on the Run. But another hit called Riding the Storm Out came up in my head when I read about Abraham Wald. Okay, you're going, Abraham Wald, so what? Well, what do a successful band and Mr. Wald have in common? Nothing really, except for crisscrossing back and forth through the thoughts in my old brain, but let me explain. Now, travel back in time with me now to the inside of a fighter plane flying over enemy territory in World War II. Can you see it? Get that picture? If you've ever seen a movie about it, you've seen how it was in those planes. When those crews landed safely back at base after going on those missions, most of the time they'd just be riddled with bullet holes. And there were people who studied those bullet holes, and they noticed certain areas of the planes were hit more than others. Now, it might be natural, first thought would be to make those parts of the planes a little stronger. That seems like a natural tendency, because the goal was to reduce the number of planes shot down, right? Sounds logical. Okay, not so fast. This is where Abraham Wald came in. Apparently, he was a vampire. Wait, scratch that. I just checked, and no, he wasn't a vampire, but he was born in Transylvania. But no, he wasn't a vampire. He was a Hungarian Jew, and as it turned out, a mighty sharp mathematician. In fact, he founded the field of, think about this for a second, statistical sequential analysis. Wow, that's even more complex than, sitcoms. Anyway, without going into too much detail about what that is, here's a definition I found for it online. Sequential analysis is the branch of statistics concerned with investigations in which the decision whether or not to stop at any stage depends on the observations previously made. So wrap your mind around that for a second. Well, good old Abe, Mr. Wald, put that expertise to good use when he checked out the bullet holes data on those fighter planes. And after he noticed the patterns of bullet holes and studied more data, he presented a much better way to look at the problem. And he pointed out this simple truth that was right in front of them that they didn't pay attention to before. He said the planes that were shot in those patterns were the ones that returned. Hello? And with that insight, he apparently convinced the decision makers that was correct, and they ordered planes to be reinforced in those areas that didn't have bullet holes, and as a result, fewer fighter planes, and more importantly, the crews, fewer of them were shot down. So you might say they were better equipped to keep riding the storm out. See, I brought it all back and tied it up neatly in a bow for you. Well, You might not say it that way, but it certainly wouldn't keep me from saying it that way. They were riding the storm out. So the moral of the story, if you want to call it that, is this. Data, logic, reason, and careful investigation of the information can provide a much more valuable perspective. That's why it's important to understand how humans are information-based. We're uniquely designed like no other living creature or inanimate object. And it's because you and I were made in the image and likeness of God, with attributes like emotions and logic and reason that could not have evolved even if the universe was a humongazillion years old. Those things, emotions, logic, and reason, could not have evolved. All right, so join the only true successful band, the one that God created with his own hand. And just imagine all the songs we'll write, because we will live forever in his love light. Thank you so much for tuning in once again. And I encourage you, cajole you, exhort you, admonish you to get over to TonyFunderburk.com, post-haste, even pre-haste, and click on that merch tab and look at that t-shirt that says, and don't just look at it, get it. It's cool. It's a t-shirt you'll have that other people won't have. That will make you unique. Okay? You want that, right? So go get that t-shirt that says, Life has Rhyme and Reason because God made you.
There's a rhyme and